Welcome to English Podcast Academy, where learning English feels simple and personal. Hey, it's Olivia. I want to talk to you about something that might seem small, but it changed everything for me. Just 7 days. That's all it took for me to feel a shift in my English. And the best part? I didn't have a teacher. I didn't sit down with a grammar book. I didn't even open a textbook. I made a simple promise to myself. For 1 week, I'll give English just 10 to 15 minutes every single day. At first, I didn't expect much. 10 minutes? That's like watching a short video or making a cup of coffee. But I stuck with it. On day 1, I listened to a short English podcast while I cleaned my room. On day 2, I paused a YouTube video after every sentence and repeated what the speaker said, like I was echoing them. On day 3, I tried to describe what I was doing in English, even if it was simple. I'm making tea. I'm sitting down. I'm tired today. Just small thoughts, but in English. By the 4th day, something surprising happened. I started to feel the language. I wasn't translating in my head anymore. I was just thinking, naturally, in English. And that gave me a boost. I wasn't afraid to speak out loud, even if no one was around. I'd talk to myself while cooking or walking. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was just trying to show up for myself, for 10 minutes. By day 7, I looked back and realized how far I'd come in just 1 week. My confidence was higher. My ears were more used to the sounds. English didn't feel distant anymore. It felt familiar, like a friend I was getting to know better every day. So if you're sitting there wondering if 10 minutes can really do anything, let me tell you, it can. Because it's not about the time, it's about the habit. It's about telling yourself, I care enough to do this. You don't need hours. You don't need perfection. You just need a little space in your day to connect with English like I did. Try it. Start today. 1 promise, 1 week. You might be surprised at what changes. I want you to imagine this. You wake up in the morning, still a little sleepy, and while you're making your breakfast, maybe pouring coffee or toasting some bread, you press play on an English video. Nothing formal, just something simple in the background. You're not trying to catch every single word, and you're definitely not pausing every 5 seconds to look up a definition. You're just listening, calmly, like background music, like a familiar voice keeping you company. Maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's someone telling a story or explaining something you're curious about. You let the words float around you while you stir your tea or sit down to eat. It feels easy, natural. Almost like the way you'd listen to a friend talking on the phone nearby. You're not focused on learning. You're just being present. Then the next day, it happens. You hear a word you remember. Maybe it's something simple like delicious or yesterday or actually, but it clicks. You recognize it, and without even thinking, you smile. That small moment, that's progress. That's how language becomes a part of your world. Not through pressure, not through stress, but through little moments like these. And it doesn't stop there. A few days later, maybe you find yourself saying that same word out loud while you're talking to yourself. Or you read a sentence online and understand it without translating. These tiny wins build up quietly, like drops of water filling a glass. One day you look back and realize how far you've come, just by pressing play, just by listening, just by being kind to yourself in the process. Then maybe you go for a walk. You step outside, the air is fresh, the world is quiet, and instead of opening your phone and scrolling through endless posts, you decide to try something different. You whisper to yourself in English. Nothing complicated. Just simple, honest sentences like, I'm walking down the street, or the weather is nice today, or even, I feel tired. At first it feels strange, like you're pretending to be someone else. You might look around to make sure no one hears you. But after a minute, you keep going, because it starts to feel fun. And something surprising happens. Your brain doesn't fight it. It doesn't say, wait, translate this first. No, it just lets the words come. Slowly, quietly, English begins to flow without asking permission. You look at a tree and the word green pops into your mind before anything else. That shift, that's real learning. That's your mind adapting, accepting the new language as part of your daily life. and you didn't memorize a single grammar rule to get there. You didn't sit down with a notebook or repeat vocabulary lists. You just walked and spoke. That's it. You turned an ordinary moment into a powerful habit. And that's the beauty of this process. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent, honest, and a little bit brave. Every night, before going to bed, I opened a little notebook and wrote just 3 short sentences in English. Nothing long. Nothing poetic. They weren't perfect, and they definitely weren't impressive. Sometimes it was as simple as, I had pasta today, or work was boring. Other times it was something like, I saw a dog in the park, or I felt a bit sad but listened to music. Just tiny reflections from my day. But those sentences were mine, my words, my English. Not something I copied from a book. Not a sentence from a textbook exercise. Just real thoughts from my own life, in my own voice. And every time I did it, I felt something change. I felt closer to the language. It was like I was building a little bridge between me and English, sentence by sentence. I wasn't writing to be correct. I was writing to connect. Some days I was tired and only wrote 1 line. Some nights I found myself writing more without even realizing it. But no matter what, the act of sitting down, grabbing my pen and writing in English made me feel like I belonged to the language. Like it was mine, not just something I was trying to learn. And after a few days, I started looking forward to it. That quiet moment at the end of the day became something special, a small ritual, a reminder that learning doesn't always look like studying. Sometimes it looks like telling the language who you are, in your own simple words. By the 5th day, something changed. And it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, but powerful. I didn't freeze when I wanted to say something in English. I didn't stop to translate every word in my head. The words just came. Not all of them, and definitely not perfectly. But they were there, waiting, ready to be used. I remember standing in front of the mirror, trying to describe my day out loud. And for the first time, I didn't feel stuck. I said, "Today was long," and then added, "But I'm happy I finished everything." Simple, right? But it felt like flying. That moment, when you speak without overthinking, it's like your brain finally trusts you. It stops blocking the flow and lets the language out. And sure, I still paused. I still made mistakes. I still searched for words sometimes. But something inside me had shifted. I wasn't afraid anymore. I didn't feel like I needed to ask for permission to speak. And that tiny bit of freedom, that was enough to make me feel proud. Proud because I knew I was doing this on my own. Proud because I wasn't chasing perfection. I was building real confidence. And when you start feeling proud of your progress, even if it's small, you begin to fall in love with learning. You realize that fluency isn't a finish line. It's a feeling. And on that 5th day, I felt it for the first time. So here's my little message for you. Something honest. Something I really believe. If you give English just 7 days, it will start to give something back. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in quiet ways that matter. You'll start to understand a little more. You'll begin to feel more confident when you hear English around you. And maybe most importantly, you'll feel a bit more peace, because you'll know you're moving forward. You'll know you're doing something for yourself. You don't need a big goal. You don't need to say, I want to be fluent in 3 months. No, you just need one small decision. Just one. Today I'll listen. Tomorrow I'll speak, maybe just a few words, but I'll say them out loud. The next day, I'll write something simple about my day. That's it. Step by step, day by day. And I promise you, you'll feel it. You'll feel the language becoming a part of you. Not something you're chasing, but something you're carrying with you. You'll feel proud. You'll feel connected. And you'll realize that learning English doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be yours. You've got this. Let's make the next 7 days count. Together. If this sounds like something you can try, even just a little, don't wait. Start today. Not next week. Not when things feel perfect. Right now. You don't need a plan. You just need a moment. Press play. Listen, speak, write. Let English slowly become part of your everyday life. That's how it begins. And hey, If you enjoyed spending these few minutes with me, if something I said made you smile or made you feel a little more hopeful, go ahead and tap that like button. It really helps. Then, write in the comments. 7 days is all it takes. Let me know you're starting. Let me know you're with me. I'll be reading. And don't forget to follow along with the playlists. I've created them to make this journey easier for you. To give you something simple, something comforting, something that works. I'll be right here, every step of the way, talking to you, cheering you on, because you're not doing this alone. Bye for now. And remember, your English journey is already happening, just by being here.